I mean, we all come from different places too, to our writing. And I think when we're learning, we're looking for, that one little golden nugget that will work for us, that will help us to...
Writing an article for a newspaper that's 500 words long, you have to get quite sort of factually accurate. You have to make it concise. And so when I started writing fiction and I had to describe things in great detail, I found that I was being a bit sparse with it. I was kind of treating it a bit like it was an article.
But what I would find just as off-putting is him sort of creeping past me, trying not to make a noise.
Like one of those French thieves in a Charlie Chaplin movie. So nice to see you.
Ali, lovely to see you again.
We were talking earlier about how we met, and I couldn't remember for a second. But then you reminded me.
Well, it feels like we've known each other for ages. We sort of work in the same circles, we're in the same sort of author circles. There's so many book events and things that we have.
Yeah, we always see each other at launches.
It was on the release of your first book, The Trivia Night.
It was.
And I interviewed you at Avalon Library.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. I think that was my first ever sort of proper interview, one-on-one in front of an audience. And you were so lovely, because I remember being absolutely terrified. Yeah,
really?
I think it was the first one after the actual launch.
Because it certainly didn't come across that. You came across as very polished and, thank you. And I remember it being a really lovely interview. And I think we've done several together since then, because you've interviewed me as well.
I think we're a bit off balance. I think I owe you an interview, because I think you've done a couple, maybe 2 or 3 with me now. So
well, it's great. It's just like chatting to a friend, actually.
It is, and you're just so good.
Oh, no, that's not. We've actually got quite a bit in common too, haven't we?
Yeah.
So we both were born in the UK and still have family over there, and came to Australia.
Settled on the northern beaches.
And on the northern beaches too.
I know. And very lucky.
We're actually with the same publisher.
We are. So both with Hachette.
And I'm also with Hodder in the UK as well, which is your publisher.
That
came first, didn't it, with you?
So Hodder came first. So I did my writing course, and then I submitted a chapter to the anthology, the Faber anthology, which they put out every year. Got my agent through that, and then my agent was in London, and she sent out my novel to publishers in London, and that's how I got picked up by Hodder. And obviously they're an imprint of Hachette, so Hachette kind of welcomed me with open arms out here. And they've been brilliant ever since. So, yeah, I'm very happy. I'm
sure. And I was the other way around. I was published first with Hachette here, and then with Hodder in the UK.
Yeah.
So,
there we go. And we both got 3 children.
No, I got 2.
Oh. Okay, you've got 2 children, I've got 3.
Although... Yes, I don't see very much of them. You're still in that stage where you've got little ones at home, although they're probably growing quite quickly.
They
now,
are.
Aren't they?
I'm going to have a teenager in the house next week, which is really quite worrying. Lots of grunting and lots of, can you unstack the dishwasher? Bit of that going on. But no, it's pretty easy going. I think, touch wood, it might be all right. But yeah, it is a bit of a juggle. I have to admit.
Because I've always really admired how productive you are, considering you are also a mum with 3 children, and I know your husband obviously helps a bit, but how do you juggle the whole writing kids thing at this stage? I mean, I just remember that stage of life where you're just constantly in the car going from one event to the other, aren't you?
There's a bit of that. I mean, I'm quite sort of disciplined in the day, so I'll drop the kids to school at about 8:10. We leave the house, so you do 3 lunches, you do 3 uniforms, 3 breakfasts, feed the dog, feed the 2 cats, and then out the door at 8:10, drop the big one, and then drop the little 2, and then it's back to the desk with a coffee. Have to go via the coffee shop, of course, because can't write without that. And then back at the desk at 9, and I work till 3, and then my alarm goes off to tell me it's 3 o'clock, and I then go to the bus stop to pick them up. So, I mean, it is quite hectic, but it's no different to... I mean, it's easier for me than it is for, say, one of my best friends who's a teacher. And, it doesn't matter if I'm an hour late starting my edits, but for her, she has to be at the school at 9 a.m. Well, before 8:30. So
Yes.
it's actually it's no different from anyone else who works with 3 kids at this stage in life. But yeah, sometimes I do feel like I'm juggling several balls. But I mean,
I don't know about you. I think you only have so many hours of writing in you a day, and it maybe is between 9 and 3, those sort of school hours.
What about you? When do you write?
Well, when I first started writing, I was working full time, and I had two children, but I'm doing that sort of juggle, and I sort of snuck little periods of writing in, maybe on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning if hubby would take the kids out. Oh well, if I wasn't working, and then on a Wednesday afternoon I would sort of sneak in an afternoon, and I had the great luxury then of being able to afford to go away because I was working to an Airbnb, and I used to take myself on these little writing retreats.
Heavenly.
To particularly a little cabin on a farm near Bury in New South Wales, and I was extremely productive there, and that started through a residency on the Bundanon Trust that really sort of I had a week's residency, and I realised how much you can get into your story if you have no other distractions. And I think after I started doing that, my husband realised I was a much nicer person after I'd been away, and he'd often suggest it was time for me to go away on a writing retreat. So, and then the later books, I was working part-time, and most recently I've stopped practicing. And you'd think that you'd be much more productive having all that time to write, but at 8:10 I'm still doing Wordle, so
Wordle's very important.
It is. It's like limbering up for the day, isn't
exactly.
it? Really
limbering up for a writing day.
Yeah. Do you have any rituals or anything that you apart from your coffee, which obviously is jet fuel, isn't it?
Yeah, it is coffee. I can't have one after 11 a.m. though, because then I'll be awake all night. It really affects me. But no, I have to have one in the morning. Not so much. I do start a candle for every book I write. So last time I went to the Aesop shop, and my husband was like, "You went to Aesop? Oh my goodness! Couldn't you just gone to Kmart and got a candle?"
No.
But no, of course not. So I got my candle, and when I started the book, which is book 5, I started burning the candle. And I did it every day that I was writing, and then I finished the book just as it was kind of running out. So I think I must have forgotten a few days, but yeah, I do like that as my ritual. I've started. Vanessa McCausland does that as well, and she gave me the idea, and I thought that is a really good idea. But aside from that, I just like to have a bit of light in the room, and I've usually got the cat on my lap. Whenever I sit down, my cat jumps on my lap.
I love your cat on socials.
My cat is just a pain.
Very, very clingy. Yeah.
I know. Every Zoom I ever do. Yeah. If he was here, he'd be on my lap right now. So I suppose that's a bit of a ritual. Cat, coffee, candle, 3 C's. And what about you? Any rituals?
I do the candle thing as well. It must be And in fact, I found one of my writing group friends for Christmas. We always give each other a little writing theme gift, and she gave me a little candle. And it was only a little one in a tin, and I think it was called Fine Print. You can get them online. And it was the perfect scent for writing. I don't know why. I think there might be one of old books, but this was just perfect. In fact, to the point where I've ordered more in now because I can't write without this lovely candle.
You have to get more.
I lost my lovely doggie this year. She was I would call her my muse, and so we'd start the day with a walk together. But I still walk. I find that really helpful to unlock the imagination, the thoughts start flowing, and sometimes
is that your plotting time then?
It is. In fact, I ran into a friend yesterday. I was walking through my local reserve, and a friend who knows me, she passed me. She went, "Oh, plotting again." And so,
did you say, "Shh, I'm plotting"? Go talk to me.
Yes. So I think the ambience has to be right. I really admire writers that can write in cafes and public and on planes and that kind of thing. I just can't do that. And my writing process this year has stalled a couple of times due to various things that have happened, one of which is my neighbour's renovating, and it's the renovation that should have finished at Christmas, and it's been going on, and there's been power tools and excavators
God,
and
the gift
things.
that keeps
and
giving.
It's really hard. I've tried noise cancelling headphones, but anyway, that's a bit precious, isn't it, really?
Oh,
but,
no. I mean, I don't mind a bit of noise because I think all the years I spent in newspaper offices, you just have to kind of get used to it. When I was working in magazines in London, the radio was always on with music, so I kind of got used to that. And now, because of, newspapers, people shouting across the room and, just general noise of an office, I really got used to it. But one thing I can't cope with is because I have a study nook and it's in the middle of a long corridor.
Yes.
Is I can't cope with people coming in. Like, Mum, have you seen my XYZ? Or I'm hungry. Or coming in with a packet of popcorn saying, can I have this now? So, get out, I'm working. So I can't really work when the family's at home. Find that quite difficult.
Yes.
But any other kind of noise, like I don't mind a bit of drilling, bit of radio, something like that. But I don't choose to listen to music when I'm working. So you don't have a playlist that you get inspired to?
No, absolutely not. But I know about the family thing as well.
Yeah.
I think my husband sort of got the hint about that. But what I would find just as off-putting is him sort of creeping past me, trying not to make a noise.
Like one of those French thieves in a Charlie Chaplin movie.
Going back to your, you were a journalist, weren't you? Was it magazines or
It was
newspaper?
magazines and then newspapers kind of latterly.
How I've always been interested in how journalists become sort of fiction writers or whether the two are two different disciplines or whether you find that really, one helps with the other.
I think it's really helped me actually because A, I can write with noise. B, also, I think it's made me quite good with deadlines. And it's made me quite quick as well, I think. I can write quite quickly because I'm so used to, knowing that I've got to write 800 words in an hour and a half. So you kind of get used to that speed.
Yeah.
And, obviously when you come back and you read over it, it's not always great. And you might have to go in. Well, obviously you have to go in and edit. But those have been quite good tools. The thing that it's kind of hindered me with is that, writing an article for a newspaper that's 500 words long, you have to get quite sort of factually accurate. You have to make it concise. And so when I started writing fiction and I had to describe things in great detail, I found that I was being a bit sparse with it. I was kind of treating it a bit like it was an article, and I had to kind of learn to, you can let go a bit. You can explain this for 1,000 words if you want. It doesn't matter. You don't have to just get, the facts in. So that's been a learning curve, but I guess that's what a writing course is for. And, I've just finished book 5, and I think, by now I've kind of taught myself ways of kind of spreading it out and realising that I've got to work on that. You kind of, you keep it in the back of your mind.
We all come from different places to our writing. And I think when we're learning, we're looking for, that one little golden nugget that will work for us, that will help us to. And I think the whole learning to write a book is actually learning which bits of advice and, listening to different people's processes, but working out what works for you. That's been my experience.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
Do you think you've learned a lot from your edit notes that you get from publisher?
Oh, yes. It's quite hard being edited for the first time, sort of handing over your baby, which you've worked on so hard, and then getting 15 pages of type notes about all the things that are.
But they always start nicely. It always starts with, this is amazing.
The SHIT sandwiches.
Yes, exactly.
But I think seeing the difference that made with my first book and learning to trust, I've been really lucky and worked with the same editor on all 5 books. And I think I learned to trust her, but I also learn a little bit to trust my own instinct if there is something I feel really strongly about now, being able to stand up and say, no, look, I really feel that I'd like this to stay.
Yeah.
But I'm so grateful to my editors.
Oh, absolutely. They know what they're doing, don't they? I've just finished the edits for the 5th book, and when I handed it in, I kind of thought, I'm quite happy with this. And then there was a huge structural edit, which, it was really daunting when I sat down to start typing. I was like, oh God, this is going to take forever. Yeah. And it has taken a long time, but the book is so much better for it. And you just kind of sit back and you kind of go, well, actually, that's why she's doing the job she's doing. She's they know books. And, you kind of have to trust the process, especially when I still feel quite new.
You get so close to your work, don't you? And I probably wouldn't hand or submit a manuscript till I'd done maybe 4 or 5 drafts on it. But it could be 4 or 5 drafts going in the wrong direction, you know.
Absolutely.
So at some point, I think you do have to hand it over. Do you use beta readers?
I was just about to ask you the same thing. On the same wavelength, you see. Yes, I always send it just to one. I send it to Vanessa McCausland, who's a good friend of mine, and she sends me hers. I know she has a few beta readers, but she's my only one, and she's very good at giving sort of, very fair, very honest feedback. So I always take that on board. What about you? Do you have a few, or one, or none?
Very lucky with Vanessa, because I know she would do a great job. And I have some wonderful writing friends who have in the past given me fantastic feedback and really helped me to sort of back myself out of plot holes. And I think the last couple of books I've done, I've been so tight on deadline that I haven't actually had time to send them out. I've had to submit, and I think now I've just submitted my manuscript for my 6th book, and I think I now have a little bit of an idea when it's ready to go to them. But I always give my arcs to my friends to beta read, and it's amazing how many things come out at the very last minute, even after the proofs have gone out. So
it's quite scary, isn't it? And then you think, I can't believe people have been reading this. Oh my goodness.
I have a thing about the arcs, and I say, don't read this, really, don't read this yet.
But I don't think readers really notice the odd kind of grammatical error and things like that, do they? I mean, in the grand scheme of things, if there was a massive chunk that needed to be re-edited, it might be a bit worrying. But at that stage, it's all right, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you hope people are involved in the story and they're not looking for errors. But
Exactly.
Yeah. So tell me about the next book.
I'm very good at talking about books until they're out there and quite ready. But it's, I'm just sort of working out whether I can. It's got a very bold title. So I'm not quite sure whether I can share that yet. But it's about 2 very lonely people who meet in a very unusual place.
Oh, okay. Lovely. Sounds intriguing.
Yes, and yours is coming out when?
February, I think it's the 25th of Feb. It's called The Private Island.
I'm so looking forward to reading this.
It's a bit of a White Lotus meets Evil Under the Sun. And those are quite my inspiration, I say. It's set on a fictional island in Fiji called Loloma, meaning love. And let's just say there's an heiress on the island who isn't particularly likeable. And there's a few people who are on the island intent on revenge, including some of the people that work there. So
many suspects.
Many suspects, and a couple of deaths.
So that lovely holiday you had with your family to Fiji a couple of years ago was actually a research trip.
Tax right. It's very much based on an island that we stayed on, but obviously that island has no axe-wielding murderers that I know of.
Well, I love your books, and I know this is going to be absolutely as fantastic as the others. They're such page turners, so I can't wait, Ali.
Likewise.
It's been lovely to talk to you.
You too.